check the theme, know something about the introduction part, make something, prepare something, get data, fact validation, committee commendation that we had, analyze that topic, make different dimensions of that topic, have the positives ready, have the negatives ready, right? Have the way forward ready, and then have a good conclusion ready. Now, I would like to bring out a very important point. Like when we study these notes, or for that matter, our mock questions, right, and see the answers, they're not always just to give you question answers and feedback or just test your capabilities. They can sometimes serve as a source of content enrichment as well. You can't study everything from a book. You can't get everything at one place. So sometimes when you give tests and you see the keys, those keys can serve as very important aids. In agriculture, total count of questions have been seen 42, pretty high number. Have the micro themes in front of you, so you know what you have to study. You know what you have to study much more than other subjects. For example, agri finance and subsidies should be much more prioritized over horticulture. It goes without saying, right? Look at the nature of the question. After we choose a micro theme to study, we know what micro themes are being asked. We will first look at the PYQ. So what is this question asking us? What is this telling us? What is UPSC telling us to study and prioritize? For example, I didn't know that fact, but now once I see this kind of a resource material, I know that yes, okay, this is something that I can definitely use. It looks good in my answer and it gives credibility that I know. I just can't go and say that there is no cold storage availability. That is something that an armchair person can also say. Like AI-based apps, Kisan GPT, Digital India, Aadhaar KVC, blockchain. Like nicely box these points. It looks good and gives a lot of visibility to your answer. This is something I would really love to see in an answer. Brazil's MRAPA model. What a diverse point, right? What a very unique point. Not many people will be writing this, so this is very nice. In fact, I would not write this here. I would write this Brazil's MRAPA model here as a keyword, and then interchange these two things here, because I want examiner to see at the first glance Brazil's MRAPA model, because I think it looks unique and I think it gives this impression that this person has studied it a little differently. So that kind of an edge, if you want, one mark can change the destiny. So this is something I would do. So in agriculture, total count of questions have been seen 42. It's a pretty high number, and the main syllabus is also quite detailed for that, right? So now again, taking the leaf from the previous approach itself, have the micro themes in front of you, so you know what you have to study. You know what you have to study much more than other subjects. For example, agri finance and subsidies should be much more prioritized over horticulture. It goes without saying, right? And not that we should not study horticulture, but just the time that you would give focusing on the return of investment, because it's a GS3 paper. So you can sort of know what to prioritize, right? So there are different aspects in this agriculture part, right? So agriculture finance and subsidies has seen the highest, right? Land reforms is there. Marketing, agriculture marketing, cropping patterns is very important. Cropping patterns is very important. And then again, like I said, don't draw restrictions across GS papers. What you have studied for GS in GS1 and geography, cropping patterns and different type of crops grown across India, that diagram will come very handy here. You can use it most definitely. There is no restriction there, right? So be flexible across papers, right? So then technology in agriculture, right? Organic farming, millets, very relevant and current affair based, right? Integrated farming system, crop diversification. So a lot of themes are very repetitive, not because it's there in GS3, but because it is in GS1 as well, right? Crop diversification, millets is something you'll study in geography as well when you study your cropping patterns and soils, etc. So don't be hesitant to use that content here. Just be very flexible and use that material as a content value addition in your GS3, right? So we can pick up a different micro theme to study. So for example, how would I make notes on technology used in agriculture? Like, okay, so technology in agriculture, production and marketing, right? So they have asked, look at the nature of the question. After we choose a micro theme to study, we know what micro themes are being asked. We will first look at the PYQ. How does e-technology help farmers in production and marketing of agricultural produce? Now, what is this question asking us? What is this telling us? What is UPSC telling us to study and prioritize? How is technology helping farmers in production and marketing? So, technology helping farmers because it's agriculture. Very well, what can be asked is next? Helping government study the progress on agriculture. Okay? Who else is involved? Maybe your private companies who are investing in contract farming, private players, consumers, the buyers, right? So the buyers of the produce, right? So a lot of people are involved in agriculture, and technology is one of the aspects. Now we need to open dimensions on how to prepare. So how technology is helping different players and different stakeholders in the processes. Now in production, in marketing. Now let's just think about it. The key technology can be asked in terms of how it is helping anybody, any player in maybe post sowing season, post sowing, pre sowing, right? Before harvesting, once it is in the mandis, like this is like marketing aspect again, right? So a different phase wise approach on how technology is helping at what layer. So this is how they are going to basically make the question as well. They know that they have to ask technology in agriculture. Now they're going to ask you different permutation combinations. They can take a different player and a different time scale, right? Post harvest, pre harvest, etc. And who is it helping? Private players, government, farmers, maybe your buyers, consumers at the end level, how it's impacting prices, right? So this is sort of theme that they're asking. So we have to dimensionalize on how is technology being used, what are the different aspects of it, right? Positives, negatives of that. What are the different players in that scenario? How is it technology helping them? What can be done better? Some validation material on data, fact, or the current progress of agriculture, or some committee recommendation on that, right? That can be prepared, and then way forwards, like what is the improvements that we can sort of make. Okay, so this is how we'll kind of make our notes. So just let's get into how we would sort of make our notes. It's very similar to the previous approach, right? So agriculture technology and marketing is a topic, and for example, now there are going to be different dimensions of that topic, right? So we have storage of agriculture produce. So now technology, how is it going to be used in storage? Now, for example, we know that once the produce is being sold, there is a lot of risk of diversification towards the black market, etc. So now we know that GPS enabled tracking of these trucks has been done. This is a use of technology in sort of reducing the leakages, right? We can give whoever is coming to store in our facilities certain kind of tokens based on blockchain, so that they are immutable, and then the record of how much grain was stored where cannot be altered. So that is a kind of a check on the system that grains are not being taken out and sold without any permission or in the black market, right? So firstly, talk about the capacity. A lot of data fact is given here. 1.5 million metric tons is the capacity, but production is at 311. So you must memorize these things so that we put in our arguments, right? Then the need for storage and warehousing. Then this is the analysis part, right? So what is the negatives, challenges in that? So over dependence, APMC monopoly. So these are the content that you know. But then what we must get from this is this data. 60% of cold storage capacity is concentrated just in 4 states. Now, I would like to bring out a very important point. Like when we study these notes, or for that matter, our mock questions, right, and see the answers, they're not always just to give you question answers and feedback, or just test your capabilities. They can sometimes serve as a source of content enrichment as well. You can't study everything from a book. You can't get everything at one place. So sometimes when you give tests and you see the keys, those keys can serve as very important aids to getting some kind of conceptual clarity, or enriching your own knowledge so that you write a better answer, right? So make sure that, for example, if I would see this here, I would make a note in my diary as well that 60% of cold storage is only in one place. Like for example, I didn't know that fact, but now once I see this kind of a resource material, I know that yes, okay, this is something that I can definitely use. It looks good in my answer, and it gives credibility that I know. I just can't go and say that there is no cold storage availability. That is something that an armchair person can also say. But when you give some credible data, 60% cold storage capacity is there based on a CAG report. Now it is given in stone, right? Set in stone, because nobody's going to go and question the CAG report. It must have some basis behind it, right? But when we just give an opinion, it kind of looks odd. So that is one thing that we must keep in mind. Issues related to whatever the process is, procurement, storage, right? Pests, damage to crops, rats, etc. And steps taken to improve, which is the kind of a positive aspect, because we saw the negative earlier. So PSL, etc., PACS, cooperative societies have come about. Another thing that you can mention is that there is a provision of giving J forms to people who are coming to store their grains. So that J forms is kind of an innovative approach which helps them finance their next sowing period better once they have got the grain stored and before is being sold into the market. And then your way forward is definitely good to write these two committees. Everybody knows this Shanta Kumar committee and Ashok Dalwai committee recommendations. So, right, you can mention them, you can write few points based on that, and it will look excellent in your answer, right? Then your transport of agricultural produce, government schemes, way ahead, etc. Same approach. Check the theme, know something about the introduction part, make something, prepare something, get data, fact validation, committee recommendations that we had, analyze that topic, make different dimensions of that topic, have the positives ready, have the negatives ready, right? Have the way forward ready, and then have a good conclusion ready. I mean, I think if you have this kind of an approach prepared for any topic for that matter in the GS, I don't think you will have any problem in answering any questions. It's just that by practicing answer writing, you will have have gotten the skill of, sometimes answering a question on the spot when they interlink 2 or 3 dimensions. So you have both all the 3 dimensions prepared separately, but that interconnection part of how to frame your sentence so that it seems as if you're connecting them and answering the question is a skill that you have developed with the help of practicing answer writing and giving content regularly, right? So again, marketing, significance of marketing, issues pertinent to markets, right? Reduce committees, APMC, etc., etc. So a lot of dimensions are given here. You can prepare from this resource as well and sort of make your preparation foolproof, right? So let's look at a question of how we would answer that, right? Now, again, I'm going to show you how I read the question. Now, stagnant agricultural productivity. So stagnant productivity in India is less a technological failure and more a governance failure. Now, this is something that you must underline because you don't have to talk about the technological failure more. You have to talk about the governance failure more. This is a very fine line here. I will explain it again. So they're asking you, do you agree? This is the main question. I would box this. Also, provide the roadmap for bridging the agricultural technology gap in India. The roadmap for bridging technology gap in India, right? Now, I have seen a lot of people who sometimes don't realize what is the demand of the question. Now, this is a good example to see that. Stagnant agricultural productivity in India is less a technological failure and more a governance failure. Now, it seems as a very nice statement, but then what people tend to do is they talk more about this part than this part. You are expected to talk more about the fact that it's a governance failure, not more about that it's a technological failure, right? But people start writing more that why it is less a technological failure, which is what you have to avoid. Give a short line, few lines on why it is less a technological failure and talk more about the aspect of the governance failure, right? And then you have to give your opinion on that. So how would you give your opinion? You will not say, yes, it is totally true and then this is it. No. The way we will approach this question is we'll give arguments for yes, why the statement is correct, no, why the statement could be wrong, and then briefly, very subtly, you have to give an opinion that yes, there are issues in that because what we have, after analyzing both positives and negatives, it seems as if the issue is on both sides. And definitely, since you cannot end on a negative note, please give the way forward on how you are going to improve that. Because like I said, as a civil servant, you are expected to give answers. You are supposed to tell what should be done and how it should be done and how you can definitely make it better. That is the expectation from you in the question paper. So that is something that you'll give. And also provide the roadmap for bridging the technological gap, which is again asking you, it's a kind of a way forward. From our notes, if you have prepared technology in agriculture, then how to make it better is going to be very well prepared in your way forward aspect of your notes, right? So again, nice introduction with data fact, 3.9%, 4.3%, etc. So I would again do this here. Box my data fact, and then this is nicely given in the economic survey, so underline this so that he knows that I have mentioned my source as well, right? Graduate stagnation. Okay, so then we'll talk about why, very briefly we should talk about why it's a lesser technological failure. So I mean, this part can be avoided because this is basically content giving. So again, like I said, these test copies and these mock answers are kind of a good way to get your data fact also. It's kind of a content generation, but I would give the heading here, why it is less technological failure, and then give 5 points, right? So they're given a few schemes and things like that here. Then I would say why it is more a governance failure. My heading would be this. I would directly take the statement and the language from the question itself. Then I would give these dimensions that they have mentioned here. Governance failures hindering technology adoption, right? Failure, political, institutional, blah, blah, blah. Maybe you can make a diagram, circular diagram, hub and spoke diagram to sort of give that answer there. Then I would write how it can be made better, right? So these are the issues there. Roadmap to bridge the aggregation. So this is the way forward here. So I would write way forward, or maybe, yeah, you can directly use the statement of the question itself. Roadmap to bridge the technology gap. So a lot of nice technological points. Since it's technology, it's a question on technology in agriculture. Make sure that you give technological aspects primarily. Like, don't start talking about give direct benefit transfer and give schemes and like fertilizers should be better. Nothing like that. It's on technology. And I'm telling you this because we tend to get very excited when we get a question on something that we know, and then we just get overwhelmed and we have to write everything that we know. So we kind of miss track. But this is very specific to technology. So write how to bridge the gap based on technological solutions, not other aspects in agriculture that you can also make better. There is a scope to do a lot of things in agriculture better, marketing, etc., etc. But technology should be the primary argument behind this, like AI-based apps, Kisan GPT, Digital India, Aadhaar KVC, blockchain. Nicely box these points. It looks good and give a lot of visibility to your answer, right? This is something I would really love to see in an answer. Brazil's Embrapa model. What a diverse point, right? What a very unique point. Not many people will be writing this, so this is very nice. In fact, I would not write this here. I would write this Brazil's Embrapa model here as a keyword and then interchange these two things here. Because I want examiner to see at the first glance Brazil's Embrapa model, because I think it looks unique and I think it gives this impression that this person has studied a little differently. So that kind of an edge, if you want, one mark can change the destiny. So this is something I would do, right? Geotagging, underline, drone, satellite imagery, underline, right? Agriculture Tech Adoption Index, again an index is mentioned. So this is basically how you deliver content and maybe bring so much value to your answer, right? After that, a nice conclusion. Always end on a positive note, or be solution oriented, not problem oriented. So I would write maybe your initiatives that are being done in technology, how we can get them to the farmers much more accessible, right? So business correspondents, or like working with civil society is an aspect I sometimes feels is very underrated. You know, not many people express in their answers that the need to work with civil society on ground, or you can also bring a very good dimension of working with local self-government groups. Panchayats are the grassroots level democracy, right? We cannot actually make good changes unless we go down to the levels of the grassroots and implement those changes. So always mention that factor also as well. It will give your answer a nice touch of, it'll be a very realistic answer. That's what I feel, right? So by mentioning this in the conclusion that by engaging with civil society, by engaging with, your panchayats, by helping them train themselves in the use of technology, we can certainly ensure that the farmers have access to your technological products and they are able to use them effectively to improve the state of agriculture in India. So civil society and local self-government, please make sure that you use them in your answers. It looks very good, right? So that is sort of the approach with your agriculture. So broadly, how to make those notes, those different dimensions, and then how to deliver content in the question.